Welcome to Le Podcast de Philippe. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty fascinating.
Sounds good.
Lab-grown wood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was reading some articles recently, they were in French,
Okay.
about some research going on at MIT,
Interesting.
where they are actually growing wood in a lab.
Really? Like
weird.
wood like we use for building and stuff.
Exactly. Imagine, never having to cut down another tree for lumber.
That'd be incredible. What would that do for deforestation?
Exactly. So let's dive into how it works, what the benefits are, what challenges they face, and what it could mean for the world.
All right, let's do it.
So how does it work? How do you even begin to grow wood in a lab?
Well, researchers at MIT, they've developed this method for cultivating wood-like plant tissue in a very controlled lab environment.
Okay.
And get this, they start with cells from zinnia flowers.
Zinnia flowers, you mean like the ones people plant in their gardens?
That's right, those colorful blooms.
Wow, I never would have guessed that.
It is kind of surprising.
So are they basically growing tiny trees in a petri dish or something?
Not exactly. It's not like they're creating miniature trees. It's more about recreating the actual cellular structure of wood.
I see.
They take these zinnia cells and they put them in a liquid nutrient solution, let them multiply for a few days.
Gotcha.
Then they transfer them to a gel-based medium, which has, specific nutrients and hormones in it.
Okay.
And that stimulates their growth.
And this gel, is this where the magic happens? I mean, this is where they turn into wood.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
By adjusting the stuff in that gel, like the nutrients and hormones, they can actually control the final product, the wood.
You mean like the shape of it?
The shape, the size, even the properties of the wood,
Really?
like how strong it is, how flexible.
Wow.
And it's all still in early stages, but the level of control they have is amazing.
So they could theoretically engineer wood to be exactly what they need.
Exactly. Imagine designing a piece of furniture or even a building component and then just growing the wood with the exact properties you want.
Wow, that would eliminate so much waste in the lumber industry.
Absolutely. It could revolutionize construction, manufacturing, even art.
Yeah, that brings up the environmental side of things. I mean, that has to be a big reason they're doing this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Deforestation is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Loss of habitat, less biodiversity, climate change.
All of that.
Lab-grown wood could be a big part of the solution.
So we could protect forests by just not needing to cut down as many trees.
Exactly. Forests are essential. They absorb carbon dioxide. They help regulate the climate.
Right.
And when we cut them down, well, that releases all that carbon back into the atmosphere.
Makes sense. So this lab-grown wood, I mean, it sounds like it could be a win-win, environmentally speaking.
It has that potential, but, there are always challenges with new technologies.
Of course.
Like, how durable is this stuff? Can it really compare to natural wood?
That's a good point. When we use wood for houses, for bridges, things that need to last a long time.
Exactly. And we need to make sure this lab-grown wood can handle that. They're doing tests, comparing it to natural wood.
I see. So durability is one challenge.
Yeah, and then there's the cost.
I was just thinking, this can't be cheap to produce.
It's not. It's way more expensive than regular lumber right now.
Because?
Well, it's the equipment. It's the expertise needed. And of course, the research and development is ongoing.
Right, but I imagine the cost will come down as they improve the process.
That's the hope, but until then, that's a major hurdle.
Okay, so cost and durability, what else?
Well, there's also the question of energy consumption.
You mean, how much energy does it take to grow this wood in the lab?
Exactly. Is it really more sustainable in the long run if it requires a ton of energy?
That's a great question.
And then there are the social and economic impacts to think about.
Like what?
Well, what about the lumber industry? What happens to the people whose livelihoods depend on traditional forestry?
Right, big changes like this always have ripple effects.
Exactly. So it's a complex issue with lots of factors to consider.
So while lab-grown wood has this incredible potential,
Yeah.
there's still a lot to figure out, a lot of challenges to address.
That's for sure.
It's a journey of discovery, I guess you could say.
Absolutely. And it requires careful planning and open discussion to make sure it benefits everyone.
Well said. We'll be back in the next part of our deep dive to explore those challenges in more detail.
Looking forward to it.
We'll look at the potential applications of lab-grown wood and how we can navigate the ethical and societal implications of this really transformative technology.
It's going to be fascinating.
And if you're enjoying this as much as we are, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel
Yeah, check us out.
to follow along on our journey of, uncovering the future.
That's right.
Thanks for listening.
See ya next time.
Okay, so we've talked about the science behind lab-grown wood and its potential to, help with deforestation. But now I'm really curious about that, like the practical applications of it all.
Yeah, that's where it gets really exciting. The possibilities are huge.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, think about construction. Could we use this stuff to build houses, skyscrapers, even bridges?
I mean, it sounds crazy, but could we really?
It's not crazy. Think about it. Buildings made with wood that's been like engineered for strength, durability,
Huh.
fire resistance even.
Okay.
We could potentially build lighter structures, more resilient.
And wouldn't that be better for the environment too? I mean, compared to using steel and concrete all the time?
Exactly. Huge environmental benefits there.
What about furniture? I can imagine like designers using this to create some really unique pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Lab-grown wood could revolutionize furniture design.
How so?
We could create wood with specific grain patterns, different colors, textures, even
Oh, wow.
like imagine a table that glows in the dark or a chair with like these intricate natural designs.
That's wild.
It's like art meets science, creating functional pieces of art.
I love that. Okay, so construction, furniture, what else?
Musical instruments.
Really?
Yeah, the sound of an instrument. It's all about the wood, right?
Yeah.
So imagine we could manipulate the wood at a cellular level to fine-tune the sound.
Interesting.
Create instruments with amazing clarity, better projection, all that.
Wow, so you're talking violins, guitars, pianos, all kinds of instruments.
All of them, potentially. And
Yeah.
that's not even scratching the surface.
What else is there?
This stuff could be used for all kinds of things. Packaging, car parts, even medical devices.
Medical devices. Really?
Yeah. Think about it. Wood is porous. It's biocompatible.
Uh-huh.
So we could use it for bone grafts, prosthetic limbs, all sorts of things.
So they could grow like a bone graft that's the perfect shape for a patient.
That's the idea. It could revolutionize medicine.
It's incredible, all the possibilities. I mean, we've barely touched on everything.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. But of course, we still have those challenges we talked about.
Right, cost being the big one.
Yeah, we got to make this stuff affordable if it's going to have a real impact.
So how do we do that?
Well, as production scales up, the cost should come down.
Makes sense, but isn't that kind of catch-22? Like, we need large-scale production to make it cheaper, but to get to large-scale production, it needs to be cheaper.
It is a bit of a challenge, but there are things that can help.
Like that.
Well, technology is constantly improving. New methods are being developed.
Oh, right. Like I read about them using like different growth mediums and even gene editing to make the process more efficient.
Exactly. And then there's government support.
You mean like funding research and stuff?
Yeah, tax breaks, grants, subsidies, things like that.
And I guess they could also incentivize people to actually use lab-grown wood.
Right. Through green building certifications or using it in public projects.
So it sounds like we need everyone working together on this, scientists, businesses, the government.
It's going to take a collective effort to make this happen.
But the potential is huge. I mean, imagine a world where we don't need to cut down forests anymore.
We could meet our demand for wood in a way that's actually sustainable.
Yeah, that's the dream, right?
It is. And it's not just about saving trees. It's about creating a better future for everyone.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about the science, the potential uses for this lab-grown wood, and some of the challenges.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about like the economics of it all.
Right, because that's ultimately what's going to determine if this can really take off.
Exactly. I mean, right now it's way more expensive to produce than regular lumber.
It is, yeah.
So what needs to happen for that to change?
Well, a big part of it is, economies of scale.
Okay.
As production ramps up and the technology gets better, the cost should start to come down.
It makes sense, but isn't that kind of like a chicken and egg situation?
Yeah, kind of.
Like we need more production to make it cheaper,
Right.
but we need it to be cheaper to, justify more production.
Exactly. That's the challenge with a lot of new technologies.
So how do we break that cycle?
Well, there are things that can help, like technology is always evolving.
Oh, right, like with those different growth mediums you mentioned.
Exactly. And even gene editing to speed up the growth process, make it more efficient.
Yeah, I read about that. That sounds promising.
It is. And then there's the role of government.
We mean like funding research?
Research, yeah, but also things like tax breaks for companies that are investing in this technology.
Okay.
Grants, subsidies, things like that.
And I guess they could also like encourage people to actually use lab-grown wood.
Absolutely, through green building
Oh,
certifications
yes.
or by, incorporating it into their own projects like public infrastructure.
So it sounds like it's going to take like a joint effort.
It will.
Businesses, scientists, the government, everyone working together.
Yeah, a real collaboration to make this happen.
But the potential payoff is huge.
It is.
I mean, just imagine we could meet our demand for wood without having to cut down forests.
That's the goal.
It's a sustainable future, where construction and manufacturing don't have to harm the environment.
It's about creating a better world for everyone and for future generations.
I like that. Well, I think this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of lab-grown wood.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
And if you're as intrigued by all this as we are, be sure to check out the articles we mentioned.
Yeah, there's a lot of great information out there.
And of course, subscribe to Le Podcast de Philippe on YouTube.
That's right. We'll have more deep dives coming up.
Exploring the ideas and innovations that are shaping our world.
It's an exciting time to be alive.
It is. Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.